Donald creates the fumble. Goff goes crashing into the end zone.
It is intercepted by Jalen Ramsey.
Robert Wood, touchdown, LA!
Picked off by John Johnson.
Caught, touchdown, Tyler Higbee. It's Michael Brockers who gets there.
A'Shawn Robinson.
Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air.
Taylor Rapp, who had one taken away, will take this into the end zone.
Henderson with a good run and a first down, still on his feet.
Safety in the arms of Leonard Floyd.
Up top, touchdown, Van Jefferson.
Terrell Lewis.
Everett in stride. Wow!
Hit behind the line, Terrell Burgess, 26.
At the goal line and in for his second touchdown. Malcolm Brown into the end zone.
Abu Khan with the strip sack.
Picked off by Troy Hill.
Akers with a stiff arm. Akers into the end zone. Cam Akers.
LA will play for the Lombardi.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. This is the Downtown Rams podcast. I'm your host, Jake Ellenbogen. Joining me, as always, is Alexis Kraft. And we have a special episode for you. Isaac Bruce is coming on the show for a bit to talk about the Rams' upcoming 2020 season. Before we get into that, though, if you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your podcast. We're on pretty much every platform imaginable. And that's all for that. But, Alexis, there's a lot going on in the Rams world right now. We have an opt-out. We have Chandler Brewer opting out of the season due to COVID concerns. Terrell Lewis, the rookie, is on the COVID list right now. And the fact is the Rams have basically cut down their roster to the now 80-man roster, which is basically the max that you can have according to the NFL. They expanded it from 55. What are your thoughts on everything that's going on? I mean, I know there's a lot. Of course, they also had media day. We won't get too much into uniforms. I think we've already pretty much covered that topic. But what are your thoughts on everything that's going on right now with the Rams?
I think that, obviously with COVID, it's kind of sending shockwaves throughout the NFL with opt-outs and everything. I think the Rams have been relatively lucky so far that the only person who's opted out is Chandler Brewer. And he opted out because he has a history with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So he's obviously at high risk. So totally understand his decision to opt out there. And for our football team, I think that it is, we're getting into kind of the beginning of, right now, typically we would be preparing more for preseason. Obviously, COVID has kind of changed things a little bit. But it is, it's exciting when you know that the team gets to get together and practice and go over plays, and new players can learn the playbook. And, there's a lot of new coaches as well on the coaching staff. So, it's an interesting time. I think football fans, though, are collectively just holding their breath, hoping that we can make it to the season on time.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. First off, I just want to say, if anybody saw my live stream on Downtown Rams, Facebook, Twitter, wherever, they know, I think pretty much my opinion on the whole opt-out. I think anybody should be allowed to opt out without any sort of vilification whatsoever. So I totally understand Chandler Brewer, but even anybody that's not necessarily at risk, I do totally support their opportunity. This is an unprecedented time right now with everything going on. So I can't actually sit here and be like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense that so-and-so opted out. I will bring up, though, the Rams did, waive a couple surprising names. So far, they waived Jake Jervis, who was actually on the active roster last year. They waived Greg Dortch, the wide receiver the Rams received from the Jets, via, I believe they signed him via free agency, and he signed a futures deal. Surprised me because I felt like he was going to be the return guy, or, maybe the favorite to be the return guy moving forward. So that was a little surprising. Our guy, Greg Reeves, unfortunately, he was let go. But the Rams do have 16 spots. Well, every NFL team has 16 spots in the practice squad. So, Alexis, is there anybody that's been cut around the league that you'd want the Rams to kind of steal and add to their practice squad? Is there anybody that really comes to mind aside from the guys that the Rams released?
Not off the top of my head. I could go position wise. I would like to see some secondary guys added to the practice squad, whoever that might be. I think we could use depth there. Obviously, also offensive line. I think we are relatively still thin at offensive line, so I'd love to see them pick up some linemen to go in the practice squad. And then lastly, I know it's like cliche, but it never hurts to add receivers to your practice squad. I mean, if one or two receivers goes down, I mean, we're thin at that position. So I think being able to find, unique talent at the receiver position, it can never hurt to have them on your practice squad.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting names out there. Just kind of going through. I mean, Derek Kindred is somebody that I've liked going back to the draft out of TCU. The safety, the 49ers cut him, as well as Willie Henry, the former Michigan defensive lineman. Would be interesting to add. There's some other guys. Alex Wesley is somebody that we've spoken with. The Bears released him, and Ben Broniker would be an interesting one. The Bears had like 1 billion tight ends, so Ben Broniker is now available there. Ryan Glasgow, defensive tackle from Michigan. The Bengals let him go. Ray Armstrong, the Bills. I know a lot of people are going to lean towards Spencer Long, who was the center in Washington, I believe when McVay was there. I could be wrong on that. But Spencer Long is a guy that a lot of Rams fans wanted when he was a free agent. And he was actually surprisingly cut by the Bills. He wouldn't be a practice squad addition. He'd be legitimately like on the roster if they went after him. Shaq Taylor, the Broncos released him. He'd be interesting. Jeff Hireman, a 3rd round tight end, from a few years back. He'd be an interesting add. Just kind of going through and talking a little bit about those. Kendall Beckwith, I believe he was from Mizzou. The Buccaneers let him go, as well as Jordan Leggett, the tight end. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys here, and this is what's ultimately going to happen when you don't have a preseason. And the thing is, because there's no preseason, I mean, how many, of those UDFA stories have you heard going very well because they were able to, actually be in, the preseason and, be able to try and fight for a roster spot. So I think it's important to kind of look at these names and, I'm not saying memorize them, but there's some guys out there that really shouldn't be getting cut that are getting cut because of the complete and utter unprecedented offseason, if you will.
You kind of use preseason to finalize rosters and see who fits and see who each player brings to the table. And again, we aren't really sure totally what's going to happen with preseason yet. So that definitely can make things a little bit challenging. If we're not going to be able to use a full preseason to kind of try and evaluate players and see who fits where, that certainly can make things difficult. But, I think at the end of the day, we all just really want football. We all want the season to happen. We all want everybody to stay healthy. So we'll see. I'm excited. I mean, we're getting close to the finish line. The season is a little under a month away. And I think the players are excited too. I just think looking at, guys around the league, they want to play, and they want to be able to stay as healthy as they can and be as low risk as they can, which is totally acceptable and understandable. So I'm excited. I think that there's a lot of potential with this Rams team. I don't think we're going to get as in depth of a look during the preseason as we normally would. I mean, they are going to be on Hard Knocks this season, so we can all watch that and see how things unfold there. But Jake, I just want football, and I want it now, and I want it to go my way, and I want everything to just work out, and I want everything to be okay. I need everything to be okay again.
I totally agree with you there. The good thing is you mentioned Hard Knocks. That is going to be coming out next Tuesday, the 11th. So you're hearing this on a Wednesday, which is the 5th, and it'll be next Tuesday, the 11th. So that should be fun. I had people asking me on the live stream what my thoughts were on it being Los Angeles, not just the Rams. And obviously, I mean, Alexis, I don't think I have to say that. I think you know where I'm at on that. I get their idea, but I mean, I'm just going to be annoyed every time they cut away from Rams.
Yeah.
Because I don't really care about the Chargers. I mean, just to be honest, I'm a football fan, and, I think it'll be interesting, especially the fact that they have a rookie quarterback. So I get the appeal there. but they're just not like I don't see the Chargers being in LA much longer. So, I we'll see how it goes, but I think you're just going to piss off a bunch of viewers. And you know how dedicated Rams fans are to their team. I mean, they'll literally just turn off the TV set if they don't like, how much the Chargers are being shown.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, we'll see. And as always, guys, feel free to tweet us questions on Twitter or Instagram us. I know I get a lot of messages still, and I think just kind of the consensus is, we feel, I think, as fans a little bit more in the dark than normal because of COVID. And I don't think that that's intentional from the NFL. I think it's just, I think everyone's a little bit in the dark because nobody knows what's going to happen. So we'll see. It's certainly going to be interesting. And I don't know. I can't wait.
I hear you, but that's going to do it for us. Now, here is the interview that we did with Isaac Bruce. Hope you guys enjoy, and take care. All right, guys, welcome to the Downtown Rams podcast. We have a very special guest. We have Hall of Fame wide receiver of the Rams, Isaac Bruce. How's it going, man? Thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, all is well, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, totally. We're excited to talk to you and really curious to hear your thoughts on the upcoming Rams season. So to start this off, just coming into this new season, but what is your initial expectation of the Rams in 2020?
Well, I think, contrary to popular belief, I think the Rams had a pretty decent season last year. I mean, to finish 9-7 and to be playing in one of the toughest divisions in football and to have the two last representatives of the NFC conference right in our division, I think they played pretty well. I mean, we're a couple of points from being a true contender for the playoffs last year. And I'm looking to add on to that. And I think we have a great mixture of guys, also leadership to not only put us over the top, but maybe make a deep run into the playoffs this year.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you there, for sure. I think this team, had a couple bounces that didn't go their way, maybe a call here and there. And I don't think they were far off from being 11-5 last year. I really don't. Coming into this year, though, obviously, being a Hall of Fame wideout yourself, I want to ask you what most stands out to you when you watch these Rams wide receivers?
It's a great group. I think, just being led by a guy like Robert Woods, the experience that Cooper Kupp has gotten here these past seasons. And it's definitely a group that can be trusted by the coordinator, by the quarterback, Jared Goff. I think Josh, his last name slips me right now, but just his emergence and being a valuable asset to the offense, the drafting of Van Jefferson, I think that bodes well for us. And it's going to be a lot of competition, as it should be, for those top three spots. I think guys are going to push each other. And I think these guys now are used to making plays on a very high level. So I'm expecting more from that group, a lot more than what I got last year as well.
Yeah, and, speaking of Jared Goff a little bit, he struggled a little bit last season, but a lot of the criticism on him might have been a little bit unfair because the offensive line went through a lot of changes as well. Going into, this 2020 season, do you expect there to be more fluidity between him and the offensive line, and do you think he'll kind of get back to where he was the season that the Rams went to the Super Bowl?
Let's make no mistakes about it. I think everything starts and finishes with what you have up front, as far as guys being able to protect the offensive lineman in a running game. As the offensive line goes, and the guys can have some continuity there with each other, and hopefully within this short time span of not being able to really, do walkthroughs and have that connection with each other in camp, that group can mesh. I think it only bodes well for Jared Goff's production. and as a team as a whole. Because once you get the running game going, and that becomes the nucleus and the catalyst of what you want to do offensively, I think it bodes well for everybody.
I agree with that. And now, being a Memphis guy yourself, what are your thoughts on the Rams running back Daryl Henderson? He was my top running back in the draft a year ago. I think, he's got a lot of juice to him. I know they just added Cam Akers. You have Malcolm Brown.
Right.
It's a really good backfield, but I think people are sleeping a little bit on DH27. What are your thoughts on him moving forward, his role this year and beyond?
Well, I think it's a perfect opportunity. I mean, we tend to know who guys are between their rookie seasons and their sophomore season. So hopefully, he gets that true opportunity, which I believe he will, to be the first guy. I mean, if it's that number one guy, that'd be great. Definitely if he has that mindset. Because I think, with the addition of Cam Akers, it bodes well for one of those offenses where guys are going to be fighting to get on the field. I think it's going to be one of those spotlighted groups, and hopefully those guys rise to the challenge and challenge each other. And not only that, but encourage and they feed off one another.
Yeah, totally. And, we had your former coach, Dick Vermeil, on the show before. We love him a lot. And this next question is just having played for coaches like Dick Vermeil and Mike Martz, do you feel Sean McVay is already or has a chance to be as great as those coaches?
Well, definitely has a chance. He has an opportunity. I think he came in, not many people knew a lot about him. But once he took the reins, he was able to put his imprint on an offense and on an organization. I think, what he's done, his resume thus far is really, really good. What I get from him is that he's content but not satisfied, and I think he's in a position to really, really, really put his imprint on this team and then on this offense, like I think we can. And he proved it with the Super Bowl run, and now it's all about when teams adjust to what you do. How can you adjust to what they've adjusted to you doing? So if he can come out with some new wrinkles, make this offense formidable again, with the spotlight being on the running game, I'll be happy. I'm sure he'll be happy as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Do you feel like this team has a cap for their ceiling, or how do you view this team? Because I look at this team, and first thing I think of is really this sky's the limit type of team. They have a lot that's really unproven here. There's a lot of turnover. I feel like it can kind of go either way. How do you really view this team as far as potential in 2021 or 2020 to 2021?
Well, I think, first of all, you have to look at the defense. We do have a new defensive coordinator coming in, but we have guys on the defense who, it bodes well for them to play well. I mean, starting off with Jalen Ramsey, I think with him being in a contract year, I think, he goes out and plays well. I think he's one of the better cornerbacks in our league, and what he can do as far as, taking away one side of the field, he can cover your best guy from the opposite team, and he gives the defense an opportunity to be more exotic, blitz packages, guys who can do things a little bit differently, play zone on one side, play man on the other side. So that's great for a coordinator to have that opportunity. So I think it leads with the defense being able to have those significant stops. It is a passing lead, but once you're able to do some different stuff with guys like Aaron Donald and Brockers up front, with Ramsey manning half of the field, I think it's going to start with defense, and hopefully, they'll outshine what we have on the other side.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that it's going to be really interesting to watch the defense next season. But hey, Isaac, thank you so much for coming on the show. We are such big fans. It's always good to be able to catch up with you. I mentioned here in the show that I played in your flag football challenge last year, which was a blast, and you and I got to talk there a little bit. I'm actually going to be playing some football today, and I told the people that I'm playing with that I was going to ask you for a tip at wide receiver, if you have any tips for me. And do you think that I will be able to make a one-handed catch? I mean, you can be honest. Do you think I'll be able to pull it off, or should I just really focus on getting both my hands on the ball?
Well, first of all, I think, when you catch the football, always go at it with two hands. I always said that receivers who have to dive for footballs and ultimately have to catch them with one hand aren't as fast as they should be. So maybe start working on that speed, and I anticipate you catching everything with two hands.
Yeah. Yep, that's solid advice. I'll do that, and hopefully we'll see my highlights on SportsCenter here in a couple of days. But, yeah, so thank you again so much for coming on. It's always good to talk to you, and it means a lot to us.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right, man.